Hey guys, Bible in a Year, episode 94. Pastor Kevin here, Pastor Jim. And we're going to go through 2 Samuel 16 through 18 today. We're going to talk about Mephibosheth.
You want me to take that one?
No,
Okay,
we
right.
do not. Mephibosheth, just a little bit more, but most of this is about Absalom today. But like, comment,
Ring the bell.
subscribe, ring the bell, all those things. Come on in and join us. God bless you guys. Okay, I've done this like 47 times.
Mephibosheth's servant Ziba.
Yeah, what is going on here? Let's do this before we do Absalom. What's going on here?
Well, he lies, or maybe not. When he talks to David, he seems to set himself up to look good in David's eyes. So he may be lying. Because later we find out that Mephibosheth says, no, actually, that's not the case.
Right.
This is what happened. I don't think David knew. So what he does instead is he just divides all of the inheritance that he had earlier given to Mephibosheth to both of them. Sort of like, you guys work it out. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
What makes me wonder, though, is was he still invited to
the table?
To the table, which is, again, a metaphor for I will hide your shame. I don't know.
That's interesting.
And
it doesn't really tell us either.
It doesn't tell us, but know this, that when the king invites you to his table to hide your shame, don't mistreat that. You always want to be able to sit at his table.
Isn't that interesting? And I think some of the greatest depth of Scripture can happen in the smallest of places. Like some would say, why are you wasting time with 4 verses of Scripture?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look, I'm not going to get into the specifics of all of that, but that is the point for me that I want to make from this, is just that in these 4 little verses right here, as 2 Samuel 16 opens, I mean, there's just, I guess I'm just kind of speaking generally about Scripture and Scripture study. There's so much there.
Right.
And if people will just, and we've talked about this a lot this morning, if people will just let the Scripture be what the Scripture is,
right,
it'll radically transform the life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we don't have to come up with subjects to preach on. It preaches itself. Just know it, understand it, listen to it, sit with it. Yeah.
So, and I think you get another one of those, well, honestly, 2 sections here, and you and I were talking about the second section that I was going to talk about. Well, I guess it would be the third. We were talking about it off camera. It might have been yesterday when we were recording. But first thing, 5 through 14, this Shimei, you're seeing that fickleness of the people.
Right.
And people beginning to be emboldened in their fickleness.
Right.
Verse 7. David's leaving and they're pelting him.
Right.
Get out, you murderer, you scoundrel. The Lord has repaid you for all your blood you shed in the household of Saul. Oh, what? Oh, I guess out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth is now starting to speak.
Right.
You're holding back all that time.
Right.
Then, the third piece here, before we get to Absalom, we talked about this. I don't remember when we talked about this. The advice of Ahithophel, the advice of Hushai. We've got a real problem here. No, we were talking about something else. Yeah, we were talking about something else of Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm mixing a conversation up. But
later on, yeah.
This is huge too,
right?
Because there are a handful of suicides in the Scripture.
Right.
This is one of the suicides. Saul attempts and complete suicide. Samson, we'll see. Ahithophel, his advice is rejected, and he goes home, and he ends it all.
Right.
There's such shame associated with, they didn't take my advice.
Right. Right.
And I'm so shamed.
It's an honor-shame culture there.
Oh, my gosh.
Right.
So some are thinking, well, this is just a Mephibosheth thing. No, it's not just a Mephibosheth thing. this, I guess what I'm trying to say is, while all of the world is living in chaos around,
Right.
Israel is in absolute chaos
Right.
at this point.
Right.
And David has every opportunity in the world to rise up and stop the chaos, and he
Doesn't do it.
He doesn't do it.
Again, injustice left untouched breeds more injustice.
And this is what we see throughout this whole thing.
He's not disciplining as a father. He's not disciplining those in the nation who are rebelling.
Yeah.
He's just surrendering. Even when they're pelting him with rocks, he leave him alone. I'll take the hits.
And this is a guy who walked into the valley and said, "Who are you?" You know what I mean?
Right.
There's such a shift in his character.
I deserve the punishment.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
All right, so let's go back now.
So
Let's
Absalom,
talk Absalom.
right,
It's
Absalom-
funny, you've given me your outline,
Yeah.
and there's like all kind of bolded stuff. You've got red stuff in
Oh,
here.
man.
This is big stuff. So go ahead and hit me
Yeah.
with it.
Well, we've already heard about the weight of Absalom's hair. That's sort of bragging, he's got good hair, right? This is, good hair is overrated. Let me just tell you that right
He
now.
should have had a haircut before he went to war.
Exactly right. But, why are so people easily led? His charm, we already have talked about this. His charm got him this role as the new king of Israel, or at least that's what people are calling him. And I think that this is really about the fickle followers. Why is it that we still to this day are so starstruck by the charming people in our world? Whether they have character or not, we'll follow them. I think there's something about, we think that if we follow the right person, somehow it will elevate our status.
Yeah.
And there's a selfishness of the people being revealed here, an immaturity of the people. And really, isn't it interesting how they are now accusing David of things that they wouldn't have dared utter prior to this event? Like you said, the abundance of the heart. These kinds of times reveal character. Chaos reveals character. Just like we had talked about the 600 men from Gath, that reveals their character. They would follow David in, But here, what is it? We can't discern integrity and honor and character. How do we get so scooped up in the charm of leaders who are going to end up destroying us? Why is it that we do that? I don't know. And I'm really leaving this section with more questions than I am answers. I think that we can easily follow people who aren't worth following. We follow one, and I think we need to keep it there. And anyone who points us to that one, Jesus, is worth following until they stop doing that.
I think there's a very strong principle here, and it's going to seem like I'm leaving the scripture. I'm not. My mom, years ago, for a birthday present, printed out Rudyard Kipling's poem, If. And the poem, which, I'm not going to sit here and recite it, but it basically says, if you can hold it together in order while everything else is swirling in chaos, if everything else is ha, 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 then you're a man, my son. You see all kind of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and all of this. The calling is for us to hold. You and I were talking about this off camera before this episode, that passage from John 2,
right,
where it says, it's John 2, starting with verse 23. Now, while Jesus was in Jerusalem at the Passover festival, many people saw the signs he was performing and believed in his name. But Jesus wouldn't entrust himself to them, for he knew all people. He didn't need any testimony about mankind, for he knew what was in each person. And he wasn't cynical about it. He was never moved by it.
Right.
He didn't let the fickleness of other people ever shift him. You talked about off camera Matthew 28,
right,
and said, even in the midst of the ascension,
Right.
we still have doubt.
We still have doubt.
And
Jesus was not a leader who stuck his finger in the air to see
gosh,
where the
no.
winds were blowing. He did what he knew to do, whether they followed or not.
Well, and I think this is part of what he means when he says, look, you're going to hear, I'm there. Don't go.
Right.
And you're going to hear, I'm there. Don't go. And he says, and I mean, that's like the longest introduction for my point, which
Right.
I'm about to make. Wherever the cadaver is, wherever the dead body
vultures
is,
will come. Yeah.
the vultures are going to go. And I think what you see in this passage
Mm-hmm.
is all the vultures showing up
And a literal cadaver.
at a literal cadaver.
Right.
It's
Right.
you know,
Right.
you have David,
Mm-hmm.
who Nathan looks at and says after the sin with Bathsheba,
Right.
you're a dead man. And David, struggling through his pain, but still saying, I've got to do whatever I can do in my life in order to get back to God.
Right.
Because and he really is. Like, he's punch drunk.
Mm-hmm.
He's punch drunk. But again, this is a guy that's at least moving in the direction of God.
Right.
Everybody else they're divvying up the spoils.
Right. And so let me just say this. I think as a result of walking through the Bible in a year, anytime that we're in the Word, we're being trained by the Word. And I think what we learn from this section is this. We need to be people of the truth
Mm-hmm.
and the way. In other words, the way of Jesus. We need to mimic that. We need to imitate that.
Yes.
And that's what we do, whether we are people support us or not, whether people think we're smart or not, whether people think we're right or not. We have to do what we know to do because it's the truth.
Mm.
And I think that's what this passage is reminding us of.
You know, I'm looking here at your notes that you have, and it says, thousands are killed in this battle, and Absalom's great hair got him in trouble. Irony? His hair is mentioned earlier in the story. His glory? Did he fancy himself the second Samson?
Right.
What he bragged about ultimately brought him down.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a lesson there, you right.
Maybe there is. Maybe there is. If it's all about me, that'll be my downfall.
Mm.
If it's all about Jesus, it really doesn't matter what happens to me.
Wow. Wow. I know I'm looking way ahead, but I got to burn my saddle for Joab. I just do.
Yeah.
And in this passage, you talk about somebody doing what he wants to do.
Right.
Like David says, no. We're there. I mean, this is the
Right.
tail end.
Right.
But David says, don't you kill him.
Right.
Joab does it anyways. And when it comes time, like when David dies, Joab don't have long for this world.
No. But he sees the writing on the wall.
Oh, he does.
He knows this Absalom's not going to work out. I better take care of him.
Yeah.
Got to get rid of him and stay loyal to David.
It's almost like the Amalekite at the beginning of 2 Samuel,
Wow.
who rolls up in there and says, oh, guess what I did? I killed your adversary.
Yeah.
Well, Joab does the same, and literally, he ain't lying. He literally kills David's adversary.
Right.
And then you look at David's response this time.
This time
It's a weakened David
Right.
at this point.
Right.
Oh, man.
Right. And go back to the point that he saw Absalom is growing in power and didn't know what to do with him. This is what the result is.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's funny, when we started all of this, when I say all of this, I don't mean 2 Samuel. I mean Genesis 1:1.
Right.
When the earth was formless and void, chaos, and God speaks order
Right.
into the chaos. Order needs to be spoken into this
Right.
chaos.
Right.
And let's be honest, it never is.
Well, actually, as we move on to the next chapter, Joab actually does speak some order into the chaos. And wait a minute, Joab? Again, messy.
It's all messy. All right, we'll come back to this
Yeah.
tomorrow, guys. Hang with us. You can see this is deep, man. It is deep. God bless you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.